What is going on, guys? I am Guns as always, and today we are talking about Absolver. This was a not highly anticipated title for many, but for me, I was very much looking forward to this game. It is a third-person brawler, open-world-esque type of game with some MMO-ish qualities to it. So, let me give you the basic premise for this game. You are a... what do they call you? Prospect. You're a prospect who is chosen to go along the path to fight a bunch of people to become an Absolver. For some reason, you have to beat the shit out of a bunch of people to become an Absolver. Why people become prospects to become Absolvers? We don't know. Why are there Absolvers? We don't know. Where's this city that we're in? We don't know. Why is it in ruins? We don't know. What's the setting for the area that we're in? We don't know. We don't know anything. This game is not a story game. There's very little context for what you're doing, why you're doing it, where you're doing it, for any of that. Why we wear masks? We don't know. This game's meat and potatoes is primarily in the 1v1 fighting. It's in the fighting system of the game itself. And that's kind of a problem that it put all its eggs in one basket, because that currently doesn't work due to server issues. I'm going to get this out of the way now before we talk about the rest of the game and why it may be worth it in the future, but currently Absolver is not worth your $30. It is flat out not worth it. Don't buy it. Don't even think about it. Even if you thought it'd be a really cool game, it's not worth it currently because it straight up doesn't work. It's a broken game. So Absolver launches on PlayStation 4 and immediately the servers go down. This is a game based around being online in a PvP 1v1 environment. That's where you're going to spend the bulk of the game. Out in the open world fighting other players or in 1v1 mode in tournaments. That's where the bulk of the game is. And with the servers down, you can't do that. So people could play through the story, and honestly, it's a little bit better in offline mode, but the AI have still a massive litany of issues. We'll get to that in a minute, okay? So the servers immediately go down. And they've been up and down ever since then. And then it comes out on Steam. It's supposed to come out on Steam at 9 AM on Tuesday. An hour and a half later, after 9 AM, 10:30 AM, it finally releases on Steam. Why there was an hour and a half delay, no one knows. They didn't bother to say anything or let us know there was going to be a delay. And as soon as they launch on Steam, they go down. Again. So the servers have been nothing but down since the game launched. They continue to go up and down all of the time. As a result, a large part of the people that were playing it have stopped playing it. The game only peaked at 18,000 people. It's now on Steam charts at around 6,000 people, because I imagine the amount of people that were playing it decided this is too much, I can't even get online. The only thing I can do is solo mode, and I've already done the entire story, which the story content takes you about 4 hours to do, really gives you no context, doesn't really introduce you to any mechanics, just kind of beats your ass, and then says there, go PvP online. But the few times that the servers have been working that I've been able to get on, they've been terrible. They've been absolutely terrible. They've been nothing but desync and lag. Constantly. You can't find anybody. You get punched in the face by imaginary people all the time. Not to mention the laundry list of bugs and glitches that exist in this game, including people able to glitch their bodies so that you can't actually physically hit them, but they can still beat the shit out of you. Their hitbox for their moves exists, but you actually hitting them doesn't, because they can like float around in this like sitting position, or they can die and then res and then be like the shadow on the ground that can still beat your ass, but you can't do anything. It's really weird. So all those issues stacked on top of Absolver currently means basically you can't really experience the game for what it is. But the few times that I did get to play people with actual stable connections, which was like twice out of like 30 matches that I did, it felt really good. It felt fun. If only the servers worked like that all the time. The two best things about this game are, one, the combat, which is good because it's a game based around combat. It'd be bad if the combat was bad. And two is the combat decks and how the combat decks are created. you can basically take a character and decide if you want them to be a very slow-moving character with lots of resistances and heavy armor and lots of health, but have really, really powerful attacks that hit really, really hard, and you put a bunch of points into your strength attribute, and so you're a character that's really based on timing and countering and hitting the opponent once or twice, then backing off and blocking and waiting for them to dig themselves a hole again. Or you can play an insanely fast character that doesn't really hit that hard but has a lot of points into dexterity and wears really light armor and has really high mobility, and they just do tiny little chips away at your health, just tap, 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 really annoying but really, really fast. And you can play somewhere in between where you have some really good heavy hitting moves, but you have some really quick jabs that you can mix in there as well. And there's a whole different style of way to play it, and there's also abilities that go with it as well. You can have abilities that drain your opponent's stamina faster, or you can silence them from getting shards so they can't use their abilities or summon any weapons or heal themselves. You can heal yourself. You have a shockwave that pushes enemies back. You can increase your opponent's weight so they actually move slower. There's a ton of abilities that do all kinds of different things that actually make combat interesting in terms of how you can affect your enemies as you go forward. So the combat system paired with the combat deck, paired with the fashion, the clothing that you can wear, which by the way, this game is Absolver. It just is. It's amazing. Good fashion, great fashion in this game. If you like Fashion Souls, or Dark Souls as weebs refer to it, you'll like Absolver for the fashion. It's fantastic fashion choices. But there's, you know, the clothing systems with the skill tree, not skill tree, point systems, putting points into strength, dexterity, will, endurance, vitality, the attribute systems, with the combat deck systems, with the different school systems, which are basically like clans, but you get to learn somebody else's movesets, with the multiple stepped combat system, with the looping combat decks. It's very good. Simple complexity. It is complex. It can be extremely complex, but it's simplistic in how it is complex. It's very straightforward and easy to understand, and you can make it very complicated at the same time and difficult for someone to understand. It scales in terms of thinking power, and that's great for a game. Now the downsides, as I was referring to earlier, is that unfortunately the story mode is very short-sighted. The areas that you get to explore are extremely small. Some are kind of interesting, most are not that interesting, and you have no idea if they have story relevance or not. You don't know who these people are and what their relevance to the story is or not. You really don't know what the story is in general. And as you're fighting your way through the story, you will realize that the AI are a little bit too overpowered, honestly. It feels like the AI are unnecessarily overpowered. It feels like, as a matter of fact, you're meant to play this game in co-op, and strictly co-op, not single player. While I was able to beat 99% of this game solo, there were some parts that took me an enormous amount of tries to get past, and I still managed to do it in about 6 or 7 hours to beat the full story. I was stuck at some parts for a good hour, literally, a good hour. For instance, the first boss, and this is the first boss. The bosses are called marked ones. You have to kill 6 of them to open the gate. This was the first boss of the game. He should be a gimme. He should be really easy, right? He should be the boss that wades you into the mechanics of the game, that gets your feet wet and helps you understand, alright, I'm getting what this class of ability does and what these people do and how this game mechanic works. No, not that at all. Nope, no, fuck you. That's what he is. He's a fuck you. So AIs seem to be able to spam their ability constantly, and they do spam their ability constantly. There's 3 main schools you can start off with in the beginning. Windfall, Cult, and I forget the third one, but their ability is Parry. Cult's ability is Absorb, and the Windfall have a short dodge ability. And basically all of them revolve around you being able to get out of the way of a move, parry the move, or absorb the move, absorb the hit, and then counter immediately. Unfortunately, AI of the Cult variation constantly spam absorb. Every other thing you hit them with, you punch them once and punch them a second time and they absorb that hit, so it doesn't count and they immediately retaliate on you. So it's so incredibly hard to do damage to those AI, and it's so incredibly annoying Even on 2v1s, there was a boss that is Cult, and it took 2 of us to actually defeat him because he could absorb both of our hits at once. He would just absorb like 2 or 3 hits at once, and it was absolutely fucking brutally insane. Like, how can he do that? So yeah, that was an issue. The AI also have these incredibly large stamina bars and can do twice as many moves for twice as long as you can, and can block 3 times longer than you can, so it's impossible to actually wear out the AI. You can wear out other players in PvP very easily. The biggest problem with all of this is that the PvE experience does not represent the PvP experience. PvP and PvE in this game are very different, and that's a bad thing because it's warping the player's perspective of how the game is actually played. So they play this incredibly difficult game that seems unbalanced and unfair, and they go into PvP and it's not. It's completely different. And because of that, if a new player is walking into Absolver, they're going to get their ass beaten 30 times by the first boss, quit, refund the game, write a bad review, and say this game is unnecessarily stupidly hard and it's shit. And it's not even a get good moment, you know, on the internet. It's not one of those. The game is, at the beginning, unnaturally too difficult. I think the game should be that difficult at the end, or roughly middle and scale up at the end. Absolutely, it should be that difficult. By the time you're getting to the end of the game, you should really get a feel for it. You should have a bunch of moves in your arsenal. You should be ready to just beat the shit out of some people after you've learned how all these abilities work, how the game's mechanics work, and with a little bit of practice, yeah, it should be that difficult, absolutely. At the very start, no, it shouldn't. It's a pain in the ass. The first boss beat me 10-15 times, and this is not my first rodeo. I've played plenty of fighting games. Fighting games? I know that fighting games have a rhythm to them. There's timing and everything. And as a matter of fact, this game rewards you for the rhythm that you have, the timing, being able to time perfect hits. You get to do them faster in succession, and they take less stamina. So there's even a whole system to reward you to learning the timing of fighting games, and that every fighting game has a rhythm to it. And you just gotta learn that rhythm. And once you're in that rhythm with your character and against the opponent, you're gonna have a really good time. The game rewards you for that, but then it punishes you for it as well because the AI defy that rhythm and just beat the shit out of you senselessly. So on top of the inconsistencies between PvE content and PvP content, on top of the server issues, the latency, the desync, all of that mixed together makes for a pretty terrible experience to begin with. And it makes the game not fun. You really have to dig with a shovel for a long time to find the fun in this game currently. Now, I think if they fix the servers, then yeah, you're gonna have fun in the PvP content. You will, because it's not against AI. But the AI needs balancing for you to go out into the world and practice, because you're meant to go out there and practice against these AI and learn new moves and find new move sets and get different armor types from them and take that stuff into PvP with you, where you beat somebody else's ass. And you can also learn new moves from them not as easily as you can out in the world against AI. So is Absolver worth it? As I said at the beginning of the video, right now, no, absolutely not. It's not worth your $30. It's not worth $30. It's more of a headache than it is actual fun. And it's really unfortunate because there's a really, really, really good combat system here. Really good combat deck system. Really good fighting mechanic system. It's just currently plagued by nothing but server issues, bad AI, latency, desync, bugs, and glitches out the gate. And this was supposed to be a full release title. It feels like this is early access. I feel like they should have labeled it early access, to be honest with you. I would have been less prone to bitch about this game because this is full release. This isn't acceptable for a full release, even from an indie dev, to be honest with you, which Slowclap is an indie dev. It's not really acceptable, to be honest. It's kind of shit. Those are my thoughts on Absolver, guys. I do not recommend it, not in this state. If they fix the server issues and you want a good fighting game, yeah, for $30 it'd be a fun brawler beat 'em up. If they fix the server issues and they manage to get a lot of the bugs and glitches fixed out, and balance the AI a little bit to make the world more welcoming to explore, I could definitely see spending the $30 on it then. But for now, stay away. I'm Guns. Thank you for watching this review of Absolver. We have Destiny 2 coming up. I won't be doing a review of Destiny 2. I'll just be playing a lot of it. And you can watch all that over at twitch.tv/gunsgames. Assuming Twitch works again one day. Twitch Apocalypse 2017, August 30th, where Twitch died 4 times in one day. I'm Guns. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.